On the deadly Eastern Cape floods, Nelson Mandela Bay recently unveiling its climate change plan aimed at becoming a climate-resilient city. Now, with the city underwater, I'm joined by Dr. Gary Koekemoer. He is the chairperson of the Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa. This is an organization at the center of the climate change plan for Nelson Mandela Bay. Dr. Koekemoer, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with what this climate change plan for Nelson Mandela Bay looks like.
Good evening to you and evening to your viewers, and thank you for allowing me an opportunity on your show. Just to be clear, I'm not the chair of WESA, I just chair the Eastern Cape, and I lead the project that's funded by the Presidential Climate Commission to develop what we call a climate resilient development strategy framework. Now that's a big mouthful. We just abbreviated to climate smart city. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand what are the threats and opportunities of climate change. And we've had a massive storm come through this weekend, and we're likely still to face some more rain. That's given us some hard lessons about exactly what climate change is going to do and how it will impact our city.
You talk about threats and opportunities. Perhaps let's deal with the threats first. How easy or difficult is it to plan around these?
So, I mean, what we had is this weekend is that we had a thing called a cut-off low. It's now become sort of common terminology in everyone's vocabulary. And what that means is it brought a lot of rain all of a sudden, but it came from an easterly direction. So it came off the sea and onto the land. And so we had flooding in particularly Kariga area, and then the Swartkops River was higher than it's ever been for a long time. And then we also had tidal surge on our coastal areas, which swamped a portion of our highways. And the highways are an access to our ports and a major sort of throughfare for cars and traffic. So the threat there is the destruction of homes and infrastructure, of railway lines and roads, cutting off access to the ports, cutting off access to communities. We have some people stranded, for instance, in our Groenendaal wilderness area, where the road has been washed away. And we've had some lives lost over the weekend through drownings and other things. And really the opportunity that comes with that is then to say, let's have a look at our city. Let's have a look at the broader metro. How does it work as a complex system? And what can we do to prepare for this change? And so some of that includes, where do we build houses? How do we let our water run through our metro? How do we capture our water? Do we raise our highways? Do we take them away from the sea? There's what we call a coastal retreat, where we don't build on the coastline because we expect a sea level rise. Those are interventions that we can take that are practical, and everyone can do that. And I just want to, if I may, just listening to Dr. Johnson earlier, he was talking about a collective of smart people or intelligent people doing this. Our view is slightly different. We have 1.4 million people in our metro, and we think that everyone has to come on board. So the person who throws a piece of plastic into the road, which washes down into the river, which washes into the sea, we have to speak to that person and their living conditions currently. We can't expect that they will understand this complex thing if we don't have some kind of relationship with them that says, look, this is how your life can change positively. So that's really what we're trying to do, and trying to bring that plan together.
Two quick questions, but I'm going to club them into one because of time. The first one has to do with what you mentioned earlier, housing, how to build climate resilient houses. Quickly flesh that out for us, and then finally, does this Nelson Mandela Bay climate change plan talk to biodiversity?
Koli, thank you for the question. So, in terms of housing, what we are very concerned about is the thing we call urban sprawl. So So we've developed massive housing estates made up of what we colloquially call smarty houses, so RDP houses. But we place them the furthest away from workplaces and commercial centers, and it means that people spend a lot of money in terms of transport and getting from their home to their work, and they leave early in the dark and return home late in the dark. That kind of thinking we have to change, and that means building upwards rather than outwards. We have something like 4,000 to 6,000 kilometers of sewage pipeline in our city. That's too much to try and maintain. So we have to consolidate and bring people together. Mm-hmm. And then we have to sort of green the city. So we have to look at green spaces and things like that. Now, that's the practicality of the housing thing. And sorry, what is your second question?
It had to do with biodiversity. Does the plan talk to biodiversity?
Yeah, absolutely. So the key thing, there's sort of 5 elements to our plan. The one is that we have to look after, protect, and rehabilitate our biodiversity. We are a 7-biome city. We have some stunning reefs, and Algoa Bay is an incredible, rich marine biodiverse area that we have to protect. We have to secure that for the future for our children. But not only that, that we're going to have some big changes in our city. We're an auto manufacturing city. We're going to convert from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles. That'll bring massive changes to our economy. We have to prepare people for that. We have to develop new skills. We are an incredibly green city. So we have something like 7 or 8 major watercourses that run through that city. Those are green lungs for us. So we need to manage those properly. We need to get people walking outdoors, outside, kids playing in the open air. Those are assets to us. And then there's other things like finances. We have to look at finance and governance. We have to make sure that governance, our city works properly, and not just the municipality and not just the council, but the business chamber, the university, civil society. This is a solution that requires the entire society to work together.
Dr. Gary Koekemoer, thank you very much for your time.